Hello, my name is Philip Thompson, and welcome to my Soul Journey podcast for my TESP 503 course, The Soul of Teaching. So, I'm going to be answering just a few questions about my journey to becoming a teacher, and we're going to jump right in with the first question of why have you chosen to become a teacher? In what ways might you understand teaching as a calling, and to what extent might you see teaching as part of your journey in experiencing connection, community, and wholeness? So, I've wanted to be a teacher since middle school. In middle school, I was part of the peer tutoring program at my school, and I really enjoyed helping others to learn and improve, and just the feeling of knowing that I helped someone else to succeed. And so, in particular, there was one student that I worked with that really stood out to me, which was a student who had bullied me in the past, actually. I was not someone who I was eager to work with, but in working with him, he came to the program because he needed help with math, and I tutored him, and he was able to pass his math class. And over the time in tutoring him, we managed to connect and in a way that we hadn't in the past, and actually became friends following this. And I really love seeing the ways in which teaching can help develop those connections and change the ways in which we interact with the people around us. He had picked on me for whatever his own reasons were, but in connecting and getting to know me as a person and helping him and whatnot, it changed the way that he viewed me and the way that I viewed him as well. And it was just a neat experience that helped me understand part of why I wanted to be a teacher. I absolutely consider teaching to be a calling. In particular, I look at the public school system as my mission field. I feel that God has called me to be a godly example within this field. And in particular, I feel called to the field of special education because I see that they're often the most left out and forgotten of populations. And the Bible makes it clear that we are supposed to share the gospel and reach everyone, not just those who are easiest to get to. And these are people who, they may have things that are a little bit different about them, but they're still people. They still need to know God. They still need people who are there to help and support them, and I want to be that person who reaches out to those that many other people often overlook. So for our second question, it says, resiliency can be described as our attempt to deal with a lack of connection, community, and wholeness. Can you recall a time in your own educational or personal experience which required you to demonstrate resiliency, and how did you manage to remain resilient? And the first thing that comes to mind for me, probably the greatest example of resiliency in my educational experience, would be me completing my bachelor's degree. I initially started college at UC Riverside right out of high school. I graduated fairly young, and I had a full ride scholarship to UC Riverside. And looking back, I was honestly immature and ill-prepared for the freedoms that college life offered me. I neglected schoolwork, I had horrible time management, and eventually I lost my scholarship because I let my grades slip. It just didn't go well for me the first time around with college. However, during that same time period was also when I began to grow significantly into the person that I am today. It was during all of this going on that I started dating my future wife, and in spending so much time with her, that led to me attending the church regularly, where I ended up getting saved and still attend and serve to this day. In addition, I also started working as an instructional aide for students with severe autism at around the same time, and through all of that, I found a passion for special education. I found my purpose in the love of my life and wanting to provide and care for her. I found my faith in Jesus Christ, and as a result of all of that, I was much more prepared the next time I attempted to get my bachelor's degree. And the sense of purpose and calling to the field of special education drives me to continue forward. And the people closest to me, my church, my family, my friends, help to lift me up and support me along the way and allow me to maintain that resilience towards achieving my goal. What might be some of the ways that I anticipate having to exercise resiliency as a teacher, and what will I do to help myself thrive in the role of teacher rather than merely survive? And how might my faith intersect with my role as a teacher? So, still defining resilience as attempting to deal with a lack of connection, I think one of the greatest challenges as a teacher will come with being a new teacher, not necessarily having some of the support I might want, especially since I intend to start as an intern credential, and so I won't have the master teacher that comes with the student teaching generally. And I also know that as a special education teacher, there's often a disconnect from other parts of the school, such as administration or general education teachers. Special ed teachers are often isolated or left out from grade level meetings and things because sometimes people assume that their students, because of their different abilities, may not want to be involved in events and things, and so they get left out sometimes or just not thought of. However, I am applying to work in a district where I've already worked as an aide, and I know that the teams there are very supportive of special education and inclusion. And in addition, I have a bunch of connections throughout the district that I can turn to for help if I need it, and I'm confident that I'll have the support needed to succeed in this district. And in addition to that, my close family who are always there to support me, and my church family that I can turn to as well. I've got a lot of support in place that will help me succeed as a teacher. My faith plays an integral role in my desire to teach, and the support and prayers of my church just help, will definitely be a blessing and encouraging me to continue on the path that God has set before me. Now, the next question was, has there been any significant cultural beliefs or experiences that have influenced your desire to become a teacher? Has your understanding or experience in matters related to social injustice had an impact on your decision to become a teacher, and if so, how? So to that first question, one cultural aspect that has definitely shaped my desire to teach in the public school setting specifically comes from my background as a Christian. I'm a member of an independent fundamental Baptist church, and a lot of our beliefs and my strongly held beliefs do not particularly line up with some of the things that are taught in public schools today. There are many people within Baptist circles that strongly push for homeschooling as a result of this, but I feel that rather than pushing for homeschooling, it's important to increase the number of good Christian educators and role models that we have within our public school system. That way, Christian students who aren't homeschooled will have an example to look to, and the students who aren't saved and don't know Jesus Christ can hopefully see Christ reflected in the lives and actions of their teachers and also have that role model to look to. There's a Christian song that I love that asks the question, how can we reach a world we never touch? As a public school teacher, I hope to reach those who might not be reached in any other way. In regards to social injustice, this has definitely helped to shape the particular field of teaching that I plan to go into. I'm looking to teach special education because I've seen the way that others often react to these students. There's a lack of understanding that leads people to sometimes treat them differently. In particular, I want to teach students that are categorized as emotionally disturbed. And these children are often incredibly aggressive, and I've known other aides and teachers who refuse to work with them because they're so difficult. I've seen aides go in for a day as a sub in an ED classroom and refuse to come back because they're scared. And where others just see the anger and the violence, I see someone who needs help. These behaviors stem from something deeper, and they need someone in their life who's willing to stay, who's willing to be consistent, and who's willing to help just show that they care for them. And so I want to work with these students who a lot of other people are afraid to deal with. So the last questions here was, how might your current educational philosophy have been impacted by your own educational experience in K through 12 and by your experience thus far at APU? So all throughout my schooling, whether at home or in class, I was often presented with the idea that anything is possible if you work hard enough. Having worked in the school system as an aide in recent years, this idea has morphed into the idea of growth mindset, which is a philosophy that has also been echoed in many of my classes here at APU. The idea of growth mindset reflects a spirit of perseverance and a willingness to learn and improve, which I believe is integral to success and applicable to any person regardless of where they come from. As an educator, I hope to instill that same sense of growth mindset in my students. I want to inspire my students to find what they're passionate about, to enjoy learning, and to understand that they can do anything they set their minds to. That doesn't mean it'll be easy. A growth mindset takes work and it takes time. There's a quote from a silly cartoon on Cartoon Network called Adventure Time that I feel like exemplifies this growth mindset. The character of Jake the dog states that sucking at something is the first step to being sort of good at something. We don't immediately become good at things generally, but with practice, time, and determination, we can. And that is the power of the growth mindset. And that's what I want to instill in my students, and that is something that I gained from my own educational experience growing up in the Marietta public school system and going through my courses here at Azusa Pacific. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my podcast.